How can I force an internal hard drive to power on or off when I want? Obviously there are power management settings which Windows uses to determine when to power a hard drive off, and when to power it back on again. Powered down I assume doesn't mean absolute zero power, but it does mean the disk stops spinning. I have a second hard drive which is a tad noisy. In fact, having invested in a new case, CPU cooler, power supply and fan speed controller, it's now the noisiest component left in my computer. And I've kinda run out of money. But I don't need a second hard drive all the time. So, is there a quick and easy way to make Windows unmount all partitions from a particular internal hard drive and power that drive down on demand, and then make it power the drive back up and remount the partitions when I'm going to need it? Kinda the internal software controlled equivalent of unplugging/reconnecting an external USB hard drive. I dual boot, so I really need the answer for both Windows XP and Windows 7.
In the end, I finally solved this problem by buying a hard drive drawer/caddy. The drawer with the hard drive doesn't need to be removed to disable the drive. A lock on the front can be turned to the off position. At the moment, a quick reboot is all that's needed to enable/disable the extra drive. If I enable the C in my BIOS, usually associated with SATA RAID, I think I could even enable/disable the drive with the machine powered on, a lot like external hard drives. The reason I haven't enabled that, although Windows 7 has a C support built in, I dual boot and Windows XP needs drivers, and I haven't got around to installing those yet. I did try installing the drivers in Windows and NBSP, XP, but the only way to enable a C in the BIOS is to enable RAID. When I did that, I discovered I'd have to reformat all my hard drives, my main system drive included, to use RAID. This hasn't yet been worth the hassle of reinstalling everything again. I consider it a bit freaky that just in order to support powering a single drive on/off while the system is running, I have to not only reformat that drive for single drive RAID but also the system drive, which will always be on anyway. Still, it's probably a limitation in my BIOS rather than an inherent issue with a C. ASUS/ASRock has wrongly assumed that the only possible reason to power on/off an internal drive while the system is running is when you're using RAID. I now have a new motherboard, ASUS M5A97 Evo R2.0, and a C works fine in both Windows 7 and Windows XP. There's a BIOS setting, per internal SATA port, to enable/disable hot plugging. With that enabled, I can eject a hard drive in Windows just like a flash drive. No reformatting needed. Works well for eSATA as well as for this drawer. On the noise issue, the drawer has a small and noisy fan. This is fairly easy to disable. A cable can be disconnected, but my drive gets slightly warmer than I'd like that way. So with the second hard drive powered on, my system is noisier than it was before. But that's quite rare, and with the drive disabled, even with the drawer in place, my system is quieter. I bought a second drawer so I can swap in another drive, but I don't have another drive to swap in at the moment. Mostly this is just a way to get a hard drive on/off switch on the front of my case. I have no idea how this particular caddy compares to others, but using a similar caddy may just be a workable solution for other people too.
To have Windows not randomly access the drive, all you should need to do is make sure that indexing for the drive is disabled. This, combined with the power management settings, should keep the disk quiet until you manually access it. I use this method to keep my external drive that I use for backups quiet at all times, unless it's actually backing up data. To make sure indexing is disabled, you just go into your indexing options window by clicking the Start menu orb and typing indexing options and hitting enter. A window that should look like this should pop up. Then just find the entry corresponding to the drive you want to keep quiet and remove it from the list by clicking the Modify button and then unchecking the drive in the list that comes up. As an added safeguard to make sure it won't index it in the future, go into My Computer and right-click the drive and then choose Properties. On the bottom, you should see an option with a checkbox called Allow Files on this drive to have contents indexed in addition to file properties. Uncheck that option and click OK. Your drive should stay quiet until you actually call upon it, and you won't need to unmount/remount it manually. Windows XP should have a similar solution. Their indexing service is less sophisticated, though, and many people complain of it slowing system performance anyway, so all you should have to do in XP is just disabling the indexing service and be done with it. Smile.
You can configure both OSes to turn off idle disks via the power management options of the OS. Windows 7 example. If you want to be able to force a full power off on the drives, then you'll need to wire in a physical switch, as the power supplies in PCs don't allow controlling power taps via software. More info, based on new requirement laid out in comments. Perhaps check out MS article Mount or Dismount a Drive for some ideas. Also check out the Windows Mountful and Futel command line utilities, to perform the same tasks in a less clicky, more scriptable, way.
You can use Scan to turn your drive off. Select your hard drive, then Tools, Features, Spin Down. You can also generate a batch file which runs Scan with parameters so it turns your drive off. To do so, select your hard drive, then Tools, Command, check the Spin Down checkbox, then click on the floppy disk icon to save the batch file. Note that this does not unmount the drive. When any program tries to access that drive, it spins up again. It also spins up again on a reboot.
If you want to support the channel, please consider subscribing.